Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns newsstands. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Hello, Jeff. It's been a long time since we rock and rolled. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
How are you?
I'm good. Well, we've seen each other. We haven't done a big show in a while, but everybody is taking a little time off in the summer from hockey, but not us. We're back at it. Yeah, we're back at it.
We said it's August. It's time for hockey school. This is usually when the Terrace Minor Hockey School happens. Oh, in August. Do you remember Jim and Joe Watson's hockey school?
Yeah, I remember.
Was that
Jimmy
in July?
Watson? I don't recall, but that was in Smithers.
Yeah.
So Joe Watson and Jimmy. Joe was a little bit older than Jimmy, both defensemen. Joe was a little thicker, and Jimmy was kind of more wiry, like today's player. Both, great players from Smithers, BC. But I do remember their hockey school. But you know what? I think I went to it one time. But now's the time of year where these hockey schools are cranking, right? And then it's kind of
explain to people why they're in August. It's got to do with putting the ice back into the arena, right?
Well, it used to be.
I don't know. My internet connection unstable.
Yeah, like our show. I think the reason, like back in the day, they used to do the hockey schools in August because they would put the rink back in, like up in Terrace, where we're from, which we were both recently at. They're putting the ice in the middle of August, and they're going to do some hockey schools. But what's funny is everywhere else, they pretty much leave ice in year round now. A lot of these centers, like here in Vegas, and over there in LA where you are, Vancouver, these centers have their ice in year round.
The bigger centers do because they have the budget. The smaller centers don't have the budget to keep the ice in. It gets trying to keep that ice going with those old ice machines that kept everything frozen were pretty expensive to run back in the day.
Well, they are. And you know what? You're right on the small towns. And it's funny. I was just up in Terrace, had coffee with Rob Barg and Carl from Skeena Signs last week. And we were talking about that. And so in the smaller communities, and this doesn't just go for, it goes for Canada and the United States, right? You get these smaller communities where they don't have the budget to keep the rink in year round like they do in the bigger centers. So my thing is these kids, and I'll just give an example, Vegas, for example, because Vegas didn't have really much hockey. It had hockey, but didn't have it at the level it is now 6 years ago before the Knights came to town. Now it's exploded. But these kids are on the ice. Some of these kids are on the ice 2-3 times a week. A lot of the kids that I see, like they're going to have tryouts for one of the teams in town this week and next. But when you have ice in all the time like that, the parents have to step in and make sure the kids get a break. But what happens in a smaller community, right? So in the bigger communities where they have the ice, they got to step on the brake, right? And tap the brakes a bit, make sure the kids get some time away. In the smaller communities, the ice comes out, say in April or May, and it doesn't go back in till August sometime. And everyone's like, well, that's a good break. But my kind of thought process is, why don't we start to put a little bit more emphasis on a performance-based training center in these smaller communities where you can accommodate hockey, you can accommodate soccer, you can accommodate baseball or basketball or field hockey or lacrosse or downhill skiing. Like, so what I'm talking about is a basic, a place for the kids to go so they don't, I don't want to say lose their edge, but where they can continue to develop and there's resources there. So obviously that would cost money to put a building like that in. But when you get into smaller towns, you start to worry about money getting allocated in specific areas. Whereas in this, I think in the smaller communities, maybe if you look at something and go, hey, we don't have our ice in from May until the end of August, but we do have the performance-based center where the kids can go and train and work out. And I'm not talking about bench pressing 250 pounds. I'm talking about a lot more band work now. They've got the ladders where, people are familiar with those, just places where they can go work on their feet, go work on their hands a little bit, and just be around other people.
I'm with you. But I think we need to step back a little bit and give these kids a little bit of a break. Have you seen the Real Sports on how Switzerland, their Olympic medals have shot up in the last couple of years? And the reason is they changed the way people begin sports. So I think it's 12 or 13. They don't even keep score until 12 or 13 in any sport. That way, the kids that are starting off the sport that are uncoordinated but grow into their bodies don't give up on the sport until they get to a place where they can play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm open for anything, but I guess what I'm trying to say is
you're saying no year round. No,
I'm not saying year round. What I'm saying, yeah, and we could throw golf in there too. What I'm saying is in a performance-based center, and that's a jazzed up word for, I guess, another way of saying a community center or whatever. I'm just saying a place for these kids to go, because here's the thing. There's an old friend of mine said to me years ago, they either learn at home or they learn on the street. So I treat those facilities as kind of a place like home, and a place where kids can go and enjoy themselves, spend part of the day, because the parents, like in down in the States, the kids are getting ready to go back to school in the next week or two. Okay. In Canada, I can guarantee you, like, they don't go back until after the September long weekend. Some of the parents already are like looking at the calendar every day. Can't wait to get them out of the house. So what I'm just saying is help give these kids something to do. It doesn't have to be a specific sport, but let's have, where we can get something, our arms around it as a community and go, hey, this is a resource for our kids. Instead of having them sleeping until noon or whatever, which is fine sometimes too. Let's get them up. Let's get them going. Let's get them
getting home
be a part
until
of something.
4 a.m.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think some people might look at me and say, oh, he's out of touch with it. And maybe I am, but I'm looking at it as a general, well-rounded way of raising youth and giving them something to do and something to be a part of and something to have some goals. And I'm not saying rest isn't a big part of it either.
I like what you're saying. Give kids more opportunities, and their opportunities will give them more goals, and their goals will be met with more opportunities.
If you're around like-minded people that are motivated and passionate about things, the chances of you being successful, I think, are very high. It's like going into a gym and working out by yourself. How do you know what your goals are? How do you know what else is going on? So when you're in an environment with other young people or older people, whatever, and you get pushed, and it helps develop your social structure as well as physical and mental. There, how's that?
The camera froze at the perfect time.
I can't. We got the worst internet in the world. So
I'm gonna be talking to the internet company, the old Spectrum, right after I get off. After we finish this, is driving me insane. Let's talk a little hockey. We're gonna do a quick one today. Use the code word bag, get yourself a discount. I heard from him the other day. We're getting bags of our own, so we'll have some luggage. You'll have the Alaska Airlines patch on yours. That'll be awesome. I'll have the Pearl and Dr. Wong on mine, and Lou bags. Pick up your poop, by the way. That's my saying for people out there. Right? A lot of poop on the street, like right now.
Hey, you know what? I mean, I know we're a hockey podcast, but I agree. Like when you and I go walking, or I walk the dogs around here, like if your dog takes a dump on the sidewalk, other people are going to see that. Like if it goes off on the rocks, yeah, like you know what? Like when because other people are going to use that sidewalk and walk their dogs or go for a walk. So I know it's kind of funny growing up, because up where we were, it's like you said, no one pick up after your dog. Are you kidding me? But things have changed. And I'm like, if your dog's going to drop one down on the sidewalk, do everyone a solid and pick it up. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I like it. That's the speech from this hockey podcast.
Yeah. Talking about dog crap.
Well, there's not much going on in the league right now. Everything's kind of, I know it's behind the scenes, things are happening, but guys are starting to train a little bit, but there's really nothing out there. What did I read today? San Jose is going to put a offer sheet on Lafreniere. Are the Rangers right up against the cap? That's what I was looking for before.
Yeah, I think they're pretty tight, and obviously they've got Capo, and they Capo Caco. They got Lafreniere, and they got Hedel, these young guys, right? And then they got other guys they're trying to squeeze in. So Rangers could, end up at some point being in a position where they're just not going to be. If someone puts an offer sheet on one of their players this time around, it sounds like Lafreniere, they might not be able to be able to compete and with that offer. So the big thing is right now is we're going through arbitration, and so just a couple guys like I see Trent Frederick signed today in Boston. I think 2 years at 4.3, nice number for him. Good young player.
Was that through arbitration, or was that he actually got? Because Boston's fighting a lot of contracts right now.
Well, and Boston's always kind of gotten the hometown discount on some of their guys. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good number for Frederick. But, and then Vegas settled with Howden a couple of weeks ago outside of arbitration. And there's been some other ones. And all I would say about arbitration is you can feel like you have the strongest case in the world on both sides. But when you get right up to the altar, basically, where the minister is going to administer the sentence, either the player gets what he wants or the team gets what they want, you have to be, a few $100,000 here or there could really tilt things the opposite direction. So there's motivation on the team side and on the player side to get these deals done. And you're seeing them kind of pop through the last couple weeks here, 2 or 3 weeks, where there's one every other day, or once in a while there's one a day where a restricted free agent settles out of arbitration. So they kind of have a staring contest really to see who blinks first. That's kind of
Anaheim and McTavish are nowhere near each other. And I don't know if you've seen theirs. I think one's at 4 and one's 1.5 or something like that. It's
what McTavish I think is going to be a good player, but he's not a $4 million player right now in the league.
But if they fight hard enough, that could leave them bad taste, and they could be walking away from each other angrily. We have some friends that have gone to arbitration, and they've told us that the general manager has not treated them kindly after going to arbitration.
No, for those of you that look at the arbitration, just go, well,
initials Wade Flaherty.
Yeah, exactly. Flats is one of them. I know other guys that have gone to arbitration and they come out the other side and they're like, somehow they got to glue it together and play for that team. Like, it gets really personal in there. And so you want to avoid that. But so that's what's going on. The restricted free agents the UFAs are kind of interesting. Like Tarasenko signing in Ottawa for $5 million for a year. I think that's a great deal for Ottawa. The big other, like Matt Dumba is out there, kind of in the prime of his career, kind of a rugged right-handed defenseman. But in the defenseman market, I think teams are waiting to see what happens with Erik Karlsson if he gets traded. He's not even a free agent, but he's affecting the free agent market. So Patrick Kane's still out there. Obviously he had to get hip surgery this summer.
I was going to say nobody's going to rush in on him because he's got like what is it? He's got quite a long rehab, doesn't he? Huh?
Yeah, I think supposedly, and I might be wrong, but I thought I already saw or read something where he's already back skating. Now, back skating, really? Basically public skating. The NHL guys don't public skate, right? I mean, he's not going to be out there going 100%, but he's going to be out there doing what Patrick Kane does. So, I don't know if they're worried about contact and an injury like that. And so he can skate and get himself back up to speed. And then he's going to need a little bit longer. So make sure everything heals properly. But I would think you'll see him sign. My guess would be sometime in October or November, and probably get ready to see him. I'm thinking Thanksgiving time frame by the sounds of it. But yeah, he's already on the ice from what I've heard. So. Mhm.
Let's talk. So we're just doing a quick one. It's 20
Yeah.
minutes. We're already at 15. We'll probably end up with 30 the way we shit chat and the internet's driving us nuts. Better to listen to this one than watch it. Let's talk oh my God. Let's talk about Bergie retiring.
Bergeron.
Were you surprised that he retired? Or I kind of felt like it was done at the end of the year. I wasn't shocked. A lot of people were shocked.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a 50-50 one for me. I think on a selfish side, I would love to see him come back and play
Of
another
course.
year. But if when Boston came to Vegas this year, I got a chance to see them and the stuff he does. And he's not the fastest guy. Like he's not going to blow you away with speed, but thinks his mind's lightning quick, and his reaction and his ability to get into positions, either to defend a play or make a play, are unique. And so I would have loved to have seen him come back and play. He put on a clinic here. The guy could still give, but 19 years, I think, guy like that who's so established, kind of left it all out there. He's done everything. He's represented his country. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's played for original 6 team with the Bees there in Boston. So would love to have seen him stick around. Kind of puts Boston a little bit behind the 8 ball, because how do you replace a guy like that for what he was making? You just don't. So a little bit, I think on the one side, I would love to see him stick around, but it doesn't surprise me on the health and welfare side. 19 years is a long time to go.
Yeah, a great career. Career. I got a story to tell you. I've been looking down here while you're talking about that, and this. I just remembered this. So I was talking to our friend Luciano Cosmari last night.
Is he still really? He's still here?
Yeah, so he's still around. Yeah, he's still around. He's actually out on the road with oh no, I was gonna say Outcast. That's not Outcast. He's out on the road with. Let me think about who he's on the road with.
Is it a band?
But he's with a band. He's
Coldplay.
Offspring. He's out with Offspring right now. So he's actually the guy from Offspring flies his own planes. Did you know that?
Wow.
Yeah. So he's flying around with I'm going to be in. He wanted to know if I was going to be in. He's going to fly beach. That's the word. So, but he said the lady that is on the tour, like that works the tour, with the tour, her name is Sandy Bathgate. I asked her if she was related to Andy Bathgate, and she says yes, that's my father.
Nice.
Right. And then he tells me a couple stories, but the one story I wanted to tell, I don't know if you remember the Timex commercial back in the day. Remember he
takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Yeah. So we'll tell that. So they used to do a Timex commercial where the guy would take a slap shot at a watch and it would still work afterwards. Right. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So she told him they did 20 watches before they finally got one that would work still. So they kept shooting. That's my favorite story of the week, is like this false advertising like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And he just got, yeah. So if you have a Timex, it's a piece of shit.
Yeah. You're gonna start protests now. Back in the day, they've been like, oh well, we don't wear them anyways. We like Seiko. So
yeah, Seiko. I got my Casio with my calculator on.
Right on. Yeah, that's cool. So that's cool. Andy Bathgate, what a great name. So Luch, I'm glad to hear he's operational, because after the Leafs got knocked out by Florida, he went dark. We never heard it from him again. So
have you noticed he goes dark until August? That's when he comes out of his shell.
I know. He just, you know what? But I got a lot of friends that are Leaf fans, so I understand it. But you know what? He's extreme.
Extreme. Most of the Leaf fans are extreme. That's how they do it. That's how they live. It's just, it's the best of times. It is the worst of times. And it's mostly the worst of times with those people.
Yeah. So maybe they turn it around.
That's how Don Cherry got now fired. Those people.
Those people, yeah. The Leafs have tried again. So they got a new GM and they picked up some grit. They got Ryan Reeves is going out there, and they got Max Domi And then they signed one other guy who's greasy too, or fairly greasy. So they're trying to go with a little bit more grease. And let's see what happens.
It felt like they were trying to change the culture of the team. It feels like that's happening.
Yeah. Well,
and also that goaltender that they signed forever is now on long term, but he was on long term before.
Yeah, Matt Murray. Yeah, I think I think Matt Murray's days in Toronto, maybe unfortunately in the league, might be coming to a close. But it's unfortunate when players cannot stay healthy, and he's one of those guys. But Toronto's trying to make a little bit of an about face. Here's what I would take away.
I like Tree Living.
Oh, I like him too. But here's my takeaway from what I watched this year in the playoffs. And I think people that watch way more intently than we do would agree. You know, your superstars and your top guys have to have a willingness to compete in the 200-foot game. Bergeron is a classic example of a guy like that. Point in Tampa Bay is a classic example of guys that'll just go and go and go. And so I look, and if I'm Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, and I think Connor McDavid's probably the best player to ever play our game, just so amazing. But when you watch a guy like Jack Eichel, who turned it around and committed to playing 200 feet, and then when he got the puck, I mean, he was pulling people out of their seats. So, you know, the problem is McDavid plays 24, 25 minutes a night, a lot of nights. It's tough to do that. Draisaitl's the same. But my takeaway from the playoffs is more guys that play like Patrice Bergeron, and less guys that kind of play 140 feet, 150 feet game. And that's kind of like in Toronto, if they can get a little bit more attention to detail in the 200-foot game out of their stars, you might cost you 3 or 4, maybe 10 points during the regular season. But if you're playing in late May and June, that's when you know that what you're doing is successful.
Do you think they stay a little bit looser, and then tighten up in the playoffs? Do you think they do that? Do you think they need to talk to them to do that? Or do you think it's got to be year round?
I think it's got to be from day one of training camp. It's got to be, listen, guys. I mean,
there's no flip of the switch.
No, we're not cutting deals on this one. And because if you think about the way that all these divisions run, and we'll just use Toronto right now, because I think we all agree that these guys are, I mean, I don't know if there's a faster team in the league. Edmonton's super fast too. But if you look at it, so you got Toronto. Okay, now in the same division, you got Tampa. Well, Tampa isn't the same team, but they've still got a lot of the big pieces and guys that know what's going on down there and know. Yeah, and then you've got other teams. Let's just look at Ottawa, up and coming. Okay, Detroit's getting better. The Rangers are in there. New Jersey's going to be a handful. And so, you know, if you play a certain way, and I'm not saying you have to run people through the glass for 82 games because you just won't have anything left. But if you are constantly thinking about, you know, in the NHL, I believe they use the term staying above the puck. Yes, you might cost yourself the odd opportunity during a year, but if you look at how many goals the Leafs score, they don't have a shortage of opportunities. So if they give up maybe one, chance,
isn't that kind of the problem? The Leafs are the fastest team in the league until somebody gets in front of them.
And so I think the Leafs should kind of take a page out of some of the other teams' books. And, I don't think you want to go as far as what the Islanders do, because the Islanders, they'll check into the ground, but they really struggle for offense. Carolina is a team.
Need a little bit in the middle, right? Like
like
middle in between Toronto and in between New York. The best part. Remember at the draft when Tree Living was ahead of the rest of and he was like walking.
Yeah, I don't think we told that story. You want to tell that one?
So Toronto was Toronto's draft, and Tree Living got up and was marching, and everybody else was like at least 100 feet behind him.
Yeah,
and remember Calgary was making fun of it. They were all pointing at him because he was marching up there. He was all excited to make his first trick for Toronto, and he wanted to show how quick the team was. It's pretty
If
fun.
it was a track, he would have lapped the rest of the scouts and the management.
Funny.
At the other tables, everyone else was howling. Ian and I were like, "What is going on?" And that was awesome. So I like
He was like a
cheerleading too.
teenager with his family. He was like a teenager with his family, and he didn't want to be with his family. That's
Yeah.
what it was like.
Yeah, except the teenager usually drags way behind, right? Doesn't get out in front, and so it was like mom and dad were trying to pull the teenagers with them, but that we'll have to tell some of the stories from the draft in an upcoming week. But we
had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun in Nashville, and I'll tell this story. I don't know if we told this story. If we've had one since we were in Nashville. So we remember coming out. So Phoenix gets up there and they look like they were all dressed up like the jersey, like Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, right? Those outfits. I mean, and I love that. So they all had their maroon suits on. So the first two drafts, they took two young Russian kids. And remember, we were out front after the draft. So Ian and I kind of hung around, talked to a few people, mostly just ourselves.
Just kind of looking at things, just checking it out.
Yeah. So here comes this guy that's 6'5" or 6'6" in this Phoenix Coyotes Arizona Coyotes jersey, right? In their maroon colors. And Ian and I are talking and I see him and he's walking right at me. So I put my hand out and I go, "Congratulations." And he looks at me and Ian puts his hand out and goes, "Congratulations, good luck." And the shock on the kid's face is to borrow a line that you use all the time. Like, how does he know who we are? How did they find me? He's like, he's a 6'6" guy wearing a jersey out on a
a draft jersey, right?
With his name on the back on Broadway in Nashville. So we had a laugh about that. And you could just see he was totally confused when Ian and I said, "Hey, congratulations." Like, how'd they know who I was? We looked at your jersey. Right? It's kind of like you and your shows.
He was pretty excited. He was pretty excited and confused at the same time and struggling with English by the looks of it. So,
So, hey, I guess on that note, we should probably wrap it up. Anybody, you got any shout outs this week?
Yeah, I got a shout out. I'm gonna thank the people. I'm gonna thank everybody that came out in San Francisco this week. I had a lot of people come out, but my favorite show was the people that came out to the Added show at your favorite time of the day.
Oh,
my matinee show at 4 p.m. You know what I said to them? You know what I said to the crowd? I said, "You guys want to go for lunch afterwards?"
Or a late breakfast?
Thanks for coming to my brunch show.
I just, you know what? I laugh. Those matinee shows. I told the story about Matinee Mike, right? Mike Abesoff, old Davey.
Yeah.
Forget who it was in Edmonton. Said to him, they had a matinee game, and he says to him, Bob McCammon, I think was the guy that said it to him. Says, "Hey, Avey," he goes, "You're no good in the morning and you're no good at night. So hopefully you have a good game this afternoon." So they started calling him Matinee Mike. What can I call you, Matinee Mr. Ian? Like we don't have anything, but I guess that's good. You're adding shows. So
I don't even have a good matinee show. So don't even go with matinee. Call me excited to sell a ticket, Bobby. Call me that.
Okay.
Your shout out.
I do a lot of the same kind of shout outs, but I was home. Ian was up north a couple weeks ago. I was home last week. So what's that?
You didn't get COVID while you're there.
No, not that I know of.
My dad goes, "Jeff didn't get COVID up when he was up here. He's way better than you." So my dad.
I was actually, you know how time kind of rolls off, and I was like, I got to get over to see Gary and Robin, and the next thing I know, we're driving up to the airport, so I will get to see them on the next one. But I think, you know what, I'll give a little shout out to a guy that's trying to get some stuff going up there on the minor hockey end of it. Wade's going up there. I can't go. Ian can't go. I'm unfortunately, work is going to upend me from going to help out this year. But Wade's going up, and Wade's going to do a goalie camp for 3 days in Terrace, and there's a lot of kids from the local area. They're going to participate. So Rob Barg's got a guy behind it to kind of get things going. He's a big driving force in the minor hockey up there. So shout out to Rob and Carl from Skeena Signs. I brought them both up earlier in the game. Carl's donated some shirts and stickers and stuff for the kids, which is a big deal. And so a shout out to those two guys, and you know, let's it'd be nice to see Terrace kind of get back going. Yeah, Skeena Science. So yep. Oh, I do have a story about you and him too, but I can't tell it today, unfortunately. I don't know how we say that, but yeah. So those guys, and Wade's going up there. So a shout out and all the great people of the Pacific Northwest. It was good to be home. And
did you go to the farmers market?
No, we did not go to the farmers market.
You blew it.
I totally blew it. And here's the deal: I got up every morning. I'm getting up every morning early, but Mom doesn't get up super early, right? So I just hang out, and then I just drag my butt around till about noon. And because here's what happens up in northern BC right now, the sun's setting up there about 9:45 at night. So your day goes way longer, which works out way better for Ian than me, because I like to get up early.
I like to be in bed about 7.
Breakfast the night before. So anyways, enough of that. It was great to see everyone. And
that's why you like those matinee shows so much.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's like why didn't you add those 20 years ago? So
all right. Love to all.
Love to all.